Thrilled to have right here on the Rich Eisen Show two gents that are in a film that is everywhere where there is a theater near you. 12 Mighty Orphans in a theater starring, in part, Luke Wilson and Martin Sheen, and both right here together on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Luke and Martin?
Very well.
Doing great, thank you.
Good to see you guys. So, Martin, I'll start with you. What attracted you to this film for you to be part of it?
Well, it was a pleasure to have been offered a role that I could so easily identify with right off the bat with Doc Hall. Then to discover that it was a real character, and then that it was set in one of my favorite periods that has fascinated me, the whole Great Depression in the United States in the 30s. So I was disarmed and absolutely delighted with the offer, and I couldn't wait to get there.
And Luke, you play Rusty Russell in this film, who is the coach who is taking these orphans, putting them on the field, and creating modern football at the very same time. And I'm wondering how you got prepped for this role.
Well, I mean, I'd always been really into. I read a lot of biographies, a lot of like music biographies, but oddly enough, over the years, I'd read a lot of coaches' books, and I don't follow like high school basketball, but I'd read like A Season on the Brink by John Feinstein about Bobby Knight, which was just incredible, and then read about John Wooden, and then also, good football stuff about Darrell Royal. And so I had always been interested in coaches and just, how they kind of interacted with their players, and just that you would have generally an older guy dealing with all these kind of younger characters from different towns and cities and families, and just kind of how, different coaches approached it. Like you'd have somebody like Bobby Knight, who's kind of a maniac. I don't even know if you could call it tough love. And then you have somebody like John Wooden, who seems like this kind of kindly professor who managed to somehow like get the most out of these players that, would have come from different backgrounds than him, and through the tumultuous, late 60s. And he just kind of managed to get through those times with such success. And yeah, I was just always kind of interested in coaches, and I'd never gotten the chance to play one. So yeah, it was really exciting, the idea to get to play somebody like that.
And Martin, I'm wondering how many sports films you've ever been part of in your illustrious career, if you want to call this a sports film.
No, I had two of my kids, as you know. Charlie did Major League and 8-Man Out, and Emilio did 3 of the Mighty Ducks, and in this current series that's on now about the Mighty Ducks. But no, this is the first one.
So it's about time. It's basically what I guess for you and your family, for you to catch up.
Yeah.
For you to get up to speed here.
Yeah.
And then, and then it's just the thing I love about a film like this one is obviously the historical nature of it. And just lines like in the film where, you, Luke, are telling a player to line up a few yards behind center, and they're like, what do we call this? I'm like, we'll call you the quarterback. Like, oh, okay. And then, and then we see what's happened, obviously, since then. I just love the whole evolution.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's kind of exciting to me, is it had me thinking about football's like, it's not an ancient sport, so these guys were coming up with these kind of different offenses and defenses. And it's like, I can still remember the first time I saw like the no huddle offense, and it was the same thing. Like, well, what are these guys doing? That they haven't had a huddle. They're going straight to the line of scrimmage. And how people can kind of revolutionize a game with these kind of different ideas.
And Martin, what would you say is your favorite sports film from history, excluding your sons, obviously?
Oh,
but
gosh.
is there anything that you've watched before, or any?
When I was a boy, there were 2 films that we were very anxious to see. One was because I was a caddy. I started caddying when I was a boy, so I loved golf. I learned to play golf as a caddy, and so when Follow the Sun came out with a Ben Hogan story. He was my hero,
Cliff Roberts.
And I was watching all of the pros. I saw most of the pros of that era, but he was the only one that I never saw play. I saw Snead play a couple times, and so many of the current champions in the 50s and the late 40s, but I never saw Ben Hogan, so I wanted to see that film. Yeah, and there's a downside to it, and that is if the actor is not good at the sport, it kind of it spoils the illusion. And Doug Ford, what was his name? Who played? Can you remember who played?
Yeah, no, it was Glenn Ford.
Glenn Ford played him.
Right.
And they would cut to him swinging to Ben Hogan actually swinging from the back, but you could tell that he didn't know how to hit a golf ball.
Yeah, that's a tough swing. That's a tough swing to have to try and mimic. Where did you loop, Martin? Where did you loop growing up?
In Dayton, Ohio, at the Dayton Country Club. Yeah.
No kidding. And so what's the lowest you've ever shot in your life?
I broke 75 once when I was 15, I think.
And Luke, you still playing? You still getting out there yourself?
Yeah, I've not given up the game yet, Rich. I'm still playing.
You're still committing it? That's one way to put it?
I'm still committing.
Committing golf.
Still playing that draw.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned sports movies, and it kind of makes me laugh because it's not like ever doing a romantic comedy or anything. I ever felt pressure about the great romantic comedies that came before, but definitely doing a sports movie, I find myself thinking okay, there's Hoosiers and Slapshot, and North Dallas 40, and all these kind of movies that you do love, to where if you've grown up loving those movies and being affected by them, I definitely thought about it while we were making this sports movie.
12 Mighty Orphans in theaters near you. A few more minutes left here with Luke Wilson and Martin Sheen here on the Rich Eisen Show. I also couldn't help but notice that Robert Duvall is part of the cast. Martin, I am mandated to ask you at any point in time, did you stroll on the field asking the players if they loved the smell of napalm in the morning? Did that ever happen on the set?
I asked Bobby, it was a great pleasure to see him once again and to actually play with him, because I hadn't played with him since Apocalypse, but I'd see him every now and then. But we had just a little window, as Luke knows, and Ty Roberts said, well, we might get him, we might not. And so we didn't know till the day he showed up. And so we're just so honored to see him again and play with him, because he's one of the great actors of my generation. But I adored him personally, and just to see him again. I had butterflies working there, just that tiny little scene. I thought, oh, Jesus, and
I just remember having that day off and going to work and coming around the corner, and there was Martin and Robert Duvall talking, and it's it makes you go back to where you feel like you're sitting in a theater. And I don't know what it's like for those guys to have a bunch of guys kind of looking lovingly at them, but just while they're trying to talk and catch up. But it was so incredible and heartwarming just to see these guys that you admire so much kind of touching base, and to see how much they cared about each other, and just, what they would have gone through, together, in the Philippines back then.
Yeah, I was gonna, I'm glad you said that, Luke, because I wanted to know what you thought, at any point in time, oh God, that's Martin Sheen and Robert Duvall. I know that you've done a lot of films, but you're not a jaded individual. That's pretty neat to see. And
I asked Bobby to just as a favor to me, just say that line once, because there was a moment in the film when one of the kids is thrown out of the game or takes a hit, and Bobby would say, "Cheer up, son." And I said, "You've got to say that like you did in Apocalypse." So he did. So I got to encourage him to do that.
Oh, that's
cheer up,
son. I was going to ask if the character's name was Charlie, if he was not allowed to surf or anything like that.
No.
And it is just awesome to see, and I'm glad that you had that moment with Robert Duvall. Is there any memory of that scene in particular that we, as film fans, don't know about, Martin? The day that scene did in fact take place.
The scene in Apocalypse, or the scene?
Yes, sir. The scene in Apocalypse.
The most impressive thing about it was that we couldn't practice with the choppers. it was when they came on the scene, that was when we filmed. And so we would practice, the choppers would be on the ground and the blades would be still. And there was a guy standing by each chopper with a long bamboo stick. And if you got close to the tail, he'd just start swinging at you. That's where guys get killed, he's backing into the tail of a chopper on the ground. So we would practice our lines, but then the scene would start. You couldn't hear anything. You couldn't see for the smoke and the sand kicking up. And there was Bobby, and he never missed a line or hit a spot. I mean, it was like, just follow him. Whatever he does, just follow him. He knows what he's doing. The confidence he just oozed like the character. That was Bobby. In the middle of all those crazy scenes, he was very strict. The bombs are going off. And it was mesmerizing just to watch him in those scenes. He just never stopped.
Well, it's just wonderful to see you guys back on the screen together. And Luke, I'm assuming the same thing with Bamboo. Same thing happened on the set of Old School, right? That same thing happened where they hit you.
There was chaos on Old School. It wasn't quite as life-threatening.
Fantastic. Look, Luke, it's great to see you as a coach in this film, and it's just great. It's a wonderful story, and the way you guys are part of a terrific cast in telling the story. I can't wait for everyone to see it in theaters near you starting today. 12 Mighty Orphans, starring in part Luke Wilson and Martin Sheen. Thanks, guys, for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for being on again, Luke and Martin. I'd love to have you back on. I'll go further down memory lane with you as much as you wish.
I would be delighted.
Thank you. That's right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.